Hello, I'm Rachel Gardner-Paul, Head of the General Aviation Unit at the UK Civil Aviation Authority. As General Aviation starts flying again following COVID-19, we thought we'd ask some of you, including some of our government GA ambassadors, what you think the future holds for general aviation, and also include some safety tips to help us all as we return to the skies.
My name's David Walton. I'm a Flying Display Director and FDD Mentor, and I'm a Director of TSA Consulting Limited, which is a flying display management company based in the Cotswolds. I got into air shows and to flying displays when I'd been travelling the world. I came back, I was fairly penniless, I needed to find a job, and so I started working for the Royal International Air Tattoo at RAF Fairford. I did a number of seasons there, both putting on the RIAT events, but also I was lucky enough to get involved in some other smaller events around the country, which was very enjoyable. And consequently, I set up TSA Consulting back in 2007 with two other fellow directors, and we've been running air shows ever since. When it comes to safety tips for returning to display flying, I actually think that the aircraft operations side of the business is not so much of a major concern. We all operate currently to a system where we have a long winter break. The regulations allow for that, and there's always an element of new regulations being written over the winter, and perhaps some skills fade from people who are not flying display aircraft over the winter. So we're all used to a system where basically we have to get back into the display mindset and get back to being current again, both operationally and in terms of the regulations. So I think that side's probably going to be okay. I think in terms of other aspects in the business, things are going to be very different for event organisers and for members of the public. In terms of how they put on an event, let alone a flying display. And so there's going to have to be an element of flexibility there. I think patience is probably going to be the biggest thing for everybody involved, just to make sure that that things run smoothly, and everybody's got a role to play in that. And I also think that it's important that we remember that other people's comfort level may not be where your own is. So be flexible, be patient, and if people want to do things slightly differently, then go along with it for the good of everybody. So how will flying displays recover after COVID-19? Well, the good news is that the public appetite appears to be there. The event organiser appetite is there. The budgets certainly appear to be there. So with all that in mind, hopefully they should bounce back fairly well with some adaptations to the new way of operating. There have been surveys done for airshow attendees, and most of them indicate that people want to go back to air shows either as soon as they can or as soon as is safe and legal to do so. And most of the concerns that are registered in those surveys are concerned with things like increasing costs, overcrowding and queuing, rather than any specific health or public health concerns related to the virus. So that's good news for all events and air shows, I think. I think in terms of what air shows are going to look like in the future, certainly in the short term, perhaps smaller crowds, maybe events might have to look at restricting ticketing or making tickets day-specific tickets to limit numbers, perhaps different showground layouts to facilitate social distancing if that is still a factor. And as I said before, I think the flying display side, the operational side, is actually the easiest aspect in some ways compared to what the event organisers and health and safety people are going to have to deal with. So opportunities for flying displays in recovery. In many ways, flying displays and air shows are in the ideal position because they are outdoor events. That makes them easier to return to potentially than other large indoor events. Secondly, they're a family activity, well known to be well supported by all members of the community. They're geographically widespread around the country, and finally, that they're generally affordable public events, particularly the free air shows that are around the country. So we should actually be looking to promote them as good activities for people who are not travelling in the summer, not going overseas, promote the British staycation and outdoor events are safe, large-scale public outdoor events and outdoor entertainment. How should the community encourage younger people into display flying? Well, I've talked about this before, and I think actually it goes wider than that. It should be about being more inclusive to everybody overall. There is a bit of a lack of diversity in our community, which I think most people would observe and agree with. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to try and create opportunities to make air shows viable for people to take up as either a hobby, as a volunteer, or as a career if they wish to. And that's not simple. That requires generosity of time, generosity of resources to create those opportunities. But overall, it would be good for us all to get a more diverse and younger group of people into our industry to keep it going for the future.